Reserves. The gentleman from Texas is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield myself as much time as I may consume.
Gentleman is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, we meet today to consider the largest spending bill in American history. A bill that no one has read, no one knows its cost, was written in secret, and rushed to the floor to hide it from the American people. We meet in the shadow of an awful economic report that shows America's economy effectively stopped growing last quarter. President Biden is over 700,000 jobs short of his promises from the last stimulus, has ignored the damaging labor shortage and the fastest rising inflation in 40 years. This is all proof that President Biden is bungling the recovery and leaves many Americans questioning his competence. Given all that, you'd think the President and congressional Democrats would avoid sabotaging America's economy further. That's exactly what this $4 trillion socialist tax and spending binge does. Build Back Better's crippling tax hikes will kill American jobs, drive many of them overseas, hammer small businesses as they struggle to recover, worsen the labor shortage, and drive inflation even higher. And yes, President Biden is absolutely breaking his pledge to not raise taxes on America's lower and middle income earners. 2 out of 3 millionaires will get a tax cut, while the middle class gets a tax hike. Both the Liberal Tax Policy Center and Congress's own scorekeeper, the Joint Committee on Taxation, confirm this. The bill imposes over $400 billion of taxes on America's small businesses, which couldn't come at a worse time. There are $800 billion in tax increases on American businesses who compete both here and around the world. This is an economic surrender to China, Russia, Japan, and Europe, driving American jobs, investment, and manufacturing overseas. The new corporate minimum tax is really a made-in-America tax. It hits American manufacturing, energy, and technology businesses the hardest, along with American consumers. The international tax increases make it better to be a foreign company or consumer than an American one. Is it any wonder our foreign competitors are happy to embrace a small global minimum tax? They're getting American jobs and a big bite of our tax base. There's a troubling new tax that hurts retirement plans, harming workers and seniors the most by punishing businesses that invest in their own stock. All this while the federal government enjoys record high levels of tax revenue from corporations, small businesses, and high-income earners due to the Republican tax cuts in 2017. This $4 trillion socialist tax and spending binge will drive prices up even higher on families and make the damaging labor shortage even worse. As businesses from Main Street to manufacturing struggle to find workers, Democrats' changes to child tax credit no longer require Americans to earn or to work to qualify for monthly checks. Experts predict this, along with lavish COVID-era Affordable Care Act subsidies, could drive up to 2 million more Americans to exit the workforce. Under their paid leave plan, taxpayers will pay billions of dollars to put Washington in charge of your time off, while workers struggle with one-size-fits-all mandates that limit choice for families and crush small businesses. This is crazy, too. Democrats are insisting on giving a huge tax windfall to the wealthy 1% of Americans by lifting the reasonable SALT cap. Their tax giveaway, a whopping $222 billion. The penthouse gets an obscene tax break, but the building janitor gets nothing. The middle class gets nothing. The 90% of taxpayers who don't itemize their taxes get nothing but higher taxes themselves. Where are the priorities? The SALT windfall for the wealthy is 50 times larger than help a parent gets from the child tax credit. And it gets worse. Democrats are spitting away $550 billion in green pork subsidies for the wealthy and the world's biggest corporations. They are forcing taxpayers to send $12,500 to a wealthy family buying a luxury electric vehicle worth $80 grand. They quietly snuck in tax breaks for wealthy trial lawyers, recording artists, electric bikes, and subsidies for the media. Of course, labor unions get a huge haul, including forcing the 90% of Americans who don't join a union to subsidize a few who do. While special interests cash in, families don't. Did you know this includes a new toddler tax that'll force middle-class families to pay $13,000 more a year for their child care? And there are budget gimmicks galore. At cost zero will go down in history as one of the biggest whoppers a president has ever told. The true deficit is trillions of dollars over the decade, and one of the budget gimmicks lands on American seniors who won't have affordable generic drugs in the future to choose from. Another budget gimmick is supercharging the IRS with 80,000 new agents. While Democrats will say they've walked away from their bank surveillance plan, the White House is, quote, hopeful senators will sneak it back in. If you're worried about rising prices, shrinking your paychecks more and more every month, these trillions of new government spending will only make it worse. Inflation is killing families, forcing them to effectively pay a second utility bill, a second cell phone bill, or a second cable bill a month. Inflation is a tax, and Democrats are raising it in this bill. So crippling taxes, driving jobs overseas, making the worker shortage worse and driving prices higher, this is a terrible bill. With that, I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman from Texas reserves. Gentleman